Hey everyone, welcome to this week's episode of Coffee with the Journalist, a podcast that is just that, coffee, a journalist, and lots of conversation. I'm Jared Martin. I'm the COO and co-founder here at One Pitch.
And I'm Beck Bamberger, also the co-founder of One Pitch, the CEO of BAM Communications, and actually a former journalist. So this is fun because I get to now do the interviewing of some journalists. Today we're talking with Polina Marinova, who writes the most sought after VC emailer probably ever, probably of the world, and that is called Term Sheet, produced by Fortune magazine. We're going to dive right in. Polina Marinova is here with us today from Fortune, Term Sheet, yay! And we are in actually the Fortune offices in New York City. Thank you for being here.
Of course, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. We don't have coffee. That's okay. As I was telling you, like half the people don't have coffee. It's later in the day. It's kind of too late. You're too many coffees in, so that's totally fine. But I'm so excited to be chatting with you. You just tweeted that it's almost been 19 years that you've been now in the U.S.
Yeah.
Let's go back. Where'd you come from? Tell us everything.
Yeah, so I was born in Bulgaria, and in 1999, my parents won a green card lottery. At the time, I'm not sure if it's still going on, but there was a green card lottery where you apply to go live in certain places, and then there's a lottery, and then if they select you, you go through this year-long interview process to kind of prove that, you know, if you are selected to immigrate to the United States, you have a place to live, you'll have a job, etc. So I was 8 when that happened, and then we went through the entire process in 2000. My parents and I moved to Atlanta, Georgia from Bulgaria, which if you don't know English and then you get hit with the Southern accent, it's like, whoa.
And you don't have a Southern accent, I'm obviously noticing. How did you manage that?
To learn English.
Yeah. And did you think, oh wait, they speak differently than other, let's say, newscasters? Like, did you notice that at some point?
Yeah. So it's very interesting how your brain works. But I still remember going into my 4th grade class, and the kids were speaking, and my brain kept trying to like make it sound like Bulgarian, and I was like, oh my God, was that a Bulgarian word? But over time, obviously, you learn. I was in the ESOL class, like where you English is a second language, for about 2 months, I think. But the best thing that happened was my teacher saw that I wanted to learn. So I started with reading these baby books to basically learn the words, right? And then she saw that I liked reading, so she sent me home with like thicker and thicker books. And then I would just sit there with the dictionary and I'd be like, okay, like let's translate what this is about. It was tough, but it was also like an excellent learning experience.
Oh, and you had a teacher who really saw the potential in you and wanted to foster that. Oh,
yeah.
God, I feel that there's so many, I have so many great teachers in my life, and a lot of people I know have a teacher, someone, you know, who's their 2nd grade or their 9th grade, or like that teacher that you'll never forget.
Her name is Miss Jackson.
See? I knew it. Oh, it's so great. Yeah. Okay, so you were in Georgia, and then you got into University of Georgia. You were the editor-in-chief there of the student paper, the Red and Black newspaper. Wait a second. The Red and Black newspaper. What is that about?
Those are the school colors. It's very creative.
Oh, man. They might need to rebrand on that. Okay. Did you know, hey, I want to go into journalism, or how'd you get into that role?
Yeah, so it actually goes earlier than that. Both my parents were chemical engineers coming from Bulgaria. I thought I would be very interested in doing chemistry or research or anything in that space. So in high school, I was on the science track. So I took like biochemistry and organic chemistry in high school, which I would not recommend for somebody like me. So as I was doing that, I kind of realized that I really, really enjoyed writing the research papers a lot more than actually doing the experiments and trying to figure out. I could not tell you a single thing about organic chemistry. That is really sad. But so I went through that. In high school, middle school, and elementary school, I was really, really shy. And I think it probably came from like not speaking the language, kind of feeling like an outsider. So I think it was 10th or 11th grade, I joined the school newspaper because my friend was doing it. And I was like, oh, this is fun. I like writing. I like researching. I didn't necessarily like talking to people, but it kind of forced me to, I was like, this is my job. I'm a serious journalist in high school. I'm going to go and I'm going to interview these administrators and these people. So that helped me, get out of my head and stop being so awkward and shy. So I really, really liked it. And then I was the news editor of my high school paper. And then University of Georgia had a excellent newspaper, one of the top in the country. So I started working for that paper as a freshman all the way to my senior year.
Yeah, I see 3 years, 5 months or so. Dang.
Yeah.
Did you just apply for it, or what was the selection process for that? Because that is a renowned paper.
Yeah, they had
colleges.
Yeah, they had a pretty rigorous recruitment process. You had to attend a recruitment session. They gave you information, and then I believe, you had to have a resume. You needed to have some clips, I think. And I had my high school newspaper clips to show. And then, like I said, with that teacher in elementary school, there's always people that kind of see potential in you when you don't see it in yourself. And those are the people kind of give you opportunity and carry you through. So there was a lot of that at the paper because University of Georgia is a large state school. I wasn't in a sorority or any sort of organization. That, to me, was the place where, you could make friends and have interesting conversations with other people. So it became kind of like a place where me and my friends hung out. And then, yeah.
That's so neat. So then, you become community manager at USA Today.
God, LinkedIn really...
Hey, we do our research here. And it says you also looked at the generated content submitted.
Oh, yeah.
So you had to do that. Ooh, how was that?
Okay, so...
the internet trolls and such. First, how'd you get the job? And then secondly, how was that?
So here's a fun story. So, and this is a perfect example that if you only judge a person based on their social media, you get a completely distorted picture of what actually happened. So what actually happened is, yeah, because this looks really impressive, like Red and Black, USA Today, CNN. No, so what happened was I was the editor of my school paper. I was like, I'm going to graduate. I'm going to have a full-time job. Who wouldn't want to hire me? I graduated with this massive ego, and then nobody wanted to hire me. So the only offers I was getting were from these tiny, tiny newspapers in southern Georgia, which I will tell you, a lot of people give advice and they're like, it doesn't matter where you go. Location doesn't matter as long as you enjoy your job. To me, location is everything, because if you hate your life and where you live, you will hate your job. You can't separate those two. So to me, I was like, it's not for me. I'm really more of a larger market type person. New York was my dream, but I never actually thought it was possible. So when I graduated with no job, I moved into my mom's apartment and I lived there for a year. But during that year, I was like, what do I do for money? I need money. So while I was interviewing with jobs, I had interned in college at USA Today and CNN. And I was like, well, I'll reach back out and see if they need freelance work. And I mean, I'm young, I don't have experience, but they were very nice. And a lot of them were taking vacation around the holidays. Oh. And they were like, sure, CNN's based in Atlanta. You can come here.
Perfect.
And do some things. And then USA Today was like, yeah, we have some stuff for you to do on Twitter. And they had a user-generated content arm at the time, because this was 2013. User-generated content, everybody thought that was the future. It wasn't, I don't think. So what ended up happening is I was living at home. I woke up at 6 a.m., got to CNN at 7 a.m., worked there from 7 to 4, and then got home and worked at USA Today remotely from 6 to 11.
What?
Yeah, but I was saving money, and it was good, but it was also crazy.
Yeah.
It was great.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so that was dual. Yeah, I can see, because now if you do look at your LinkedIn, you're like, oh, wait a second, the dates are the same here. How'd she work there and there?
Exactly.
Wow. Okay, what did that teach you with being in national newsrooms or with national organizations?
Yes. Okay, so a few things. I learned a lot. I also learned that I probably am not the best for my skill set to be at such a large place, because I get lost in the mix. I need people who will sit down and mentor me. And there were some fabulous people at those places. It's just everybody was so busy. It's hard to be like, hey, me. So you needed to be able to do whatever you were asked, however you were asked, which I really appreciated because that taught me a lot. But I'll never forget it. USA Today, for some unknown reason, they trusted me with their Twitter account during the Winter Olympics. And they were
Wait, what?
yeah, which, because I had worked with them before, they thought they could trust me, which,
They're like, she's young. She must know
Right.
social media.
which, yeah, and I did, kind of, but I didn't know sports, which is, you can know social media, but it's USA Today. They're known for being great for sports coverage, etc. So I had a day where it was like luge. Like the events were not the big events, but I was like, I can handle this. And I remember working out of a Starbucks and I'm like, okay, what should I tweet about now? So I was watching the live stream of the Olympics and somebody won. It was bronze, but it was a U.S. person who won I don't even know the terminology, but it was a bronze medal.
Yes.
So I tweeted, yet another win for Team USA. And then people freaked out. They were like, how is bronze a win? Like, are you crazy? And I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
So it was interesting because obviously nobody knew who was behind the Twitter account, but I learned like, hey, maybe you should check everything because people will come after you, especially if it's, an account with millions of people. And the internet.
Oh, wow. So what happened to that tweet?
I don't know. I don't even know if it was a big deal. I just remember the hate and the anger from the Twitter universe. But it was really fun.
Wow. Oh, well, I want to hear how it compares to your current job. But let's say that. Let's say that.
Okay.
We'll get into that because I'm sure you have commentators as well. Okay. So you were doing that, but then you did get to New York. You were, you were doing social media. You were the social media editor at, how do you even say this?
Aussie.
Yeah, Aussie. Which I've heard a little bit about, but not too familiar. So, okay, so then you were doing that. What did you learn there?
Yes. So here's the thing. It's so ironic that I now cover venture capital and startups because pre-2014, I had no sense of what a startup was. So when I was in Atlanta, desperately trying to get to New York, as you can see from my experience at USA Today and CNN, people were looking for social media roles. Those were the only jobs that were open, even though I liked writing and I liked journalism, social media. Like I was 22.
Adjacent.
Yeah, and you're young, people just assume, Pinterest, Instagram, whatever. So I was like, hell, I'm gonna play to this. Like that's what I did. I was like, I'm young, I know social media, even though probably not the best person for that. But I learned it, right? Like I was like, I'm gonna go all in. So I saw that as a ticket to get to New York. So I started applying to positions that were social media related. And Aussie was hiring. And the way I learned about them was from a Fortune article. Fortune had written about their fundraise. Yeah. And so I was like, oh, they must be legit if Fortune has written about them. So it was a startup, right? It's still a startup. I think they're doing well. But I, at the time, interviewed, they were I think it was a year. I think they've been around for a year. And I was like, I didn't see it as a startup. I didn't know what that was. But I was like, this is a job, and it's a job in New York.
Real quick.
Yeah.
What was the New York thing?
What
did you visit as a kid and you were like, oh my God?
No, I visited with my friend like a few weeks before I like totally became obsessed with it. To me, like coming from Bulgaria, New York kind of symbolizes like freedom and the American dream, like all these mushy, vague things. But to me, it's like this is the ultimate place where there's life and media and whatever. And that's where I wanted to be. I did not want to be in South Georgia. Nothing against South Georgia, just like I did not want to be there.
Okay. So then you're there for a couple months, but then now full circle Fortune happens. How'd you get that job?
Again, through social media. I came in.
Social media for the win.
I know. I interviewed, I came in as a social media editor because Fortune had Time Inc. had spun out of Time Warner. And so they were building the website and they needed a social media person. I was like, I could totally do this. I was at a startup. We moved fast. I learned that, you just
played it up.
Yeah.
You played it up.
So they saw that I was like hungry and I would learn. So I came on as a social media editor in 2014, end of 2014.
And now you are the editor of the Daily
the editor-in-chief.
The editor of Term Sheet, which is basically the Bible scripture that every VC and anyone adjacent in the venture capital startup community reads. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's...
Yeah, no pressure or anything.
No pressure. And actually, fun story, I saw you. I met you, remember? The day before you entered in that role.
I do remember.
That was a scary moment.
That was a very scary moment.
Because it's a big deal.
Yes. Yes. I don't know. It was a winding road within Fortune to get here, but it was just basically like a lot of times I would get asked to do things that I didn't know how to do, but I still wanted to do them. So I would say yes and then like figure it out. With this, I got a little lucky because I was already helping with term sheet when Erin was writing it. She was writing the top and I was helping with the deal section. So I kind of like learned who some of the players were through reading her column, understood how a deal is put together, like basic things. But then you kind of start getting into it and it gets more and more interesting because you do know the players and you do know how it works. And then when she left, I took it on and that was 2 years ago now, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, it's just like the daily anxiety of waking up and not knowing what you're going to write about and that people are counting on that for their jobs is the most terrifying feeling in the world.
Wow. Has it gotten better?
A little, but I still have like a pang of anxiety. Like this morning, I was like, I genuinely, I don't know what my opinion is today. So I had to like look around and try to, figure out what was the most valuable thing for that readership. But yeah, over time, like people write in and they definitely tell you if you got something wrong and how to improve. So again, that's helped me.
Mm-hmm. So back to that comment then about your USA Today tweet that went sideways. Now you're getting probably input from billionaires, VCs who collect millions, probably even the founders themselves and how things are structured. We can talk about the pitching and all that stuff in just a second with the PR people, but what is that like to get the feedback? Probably on a daily basis. What is it like?
Oh, it's great. I love it. I even the absolutely most critical comments, I'm like, wow, thank you. Because normally if you know the person, you probably wouldn't say anything, but they're like, this is a random person who sends me a newsletter. I'm going to tell them exactly what I think. I find so much value because it's not biased. They don't know me as a person. So I don't get offended. Of course, I mean, you can't get offended over things that are just like, this sucks, because that's not helpful. So when people genuinely like, for example, in the beginning, I was very nervous to offer my opinion. So I would just kind of do the news. And then over time, people are like, I really like the analysis portion of this because I can get the news anywhere. And I want to know, based on the people that you've talked to, that you know, what do you think based on all that information? So it's like an informed opinion, right? So that's helpful. That's constructive. And I think now, you can't go into a job like that and expect that people should trust you and feel like you deserve their respect. That's just not going to happen. I was acutely aware of that. So when I came in, I started doing a series called 5 Questions with a Deal Maker, so that I would talk to these incredible people. I would hear their perspective and then talk to somebody else who completely disagrees with their perspective and then be able to form my own. So that's how you earn credibility and you build trust with a community like that.
It's so interesting that you didn't want to shed the opinion. Did it feel like you weren't being journalistic in that sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It's hard for somebody who's been taught their entire life facts, and don't freaking include yourself ever in anything, to go to more of a blog type style where you're like, well, I think this, and based on this, I think this. Is just that's completely new for me.
Wow. Okay, so let's talk about the pitching, et cetera, because we talk about pitching and publicists and how to deal with them. What's your inbox like?
Oh, God. It's exploded. And I was thinking about this recently. So when I first joined Fortune, I would get no emails, obviously, because I didn't do anything that important. But because of that, and because I was jealous of the people who got all these important emails, I was like, I'm going to make myself important. So I literally signed up for so many listservs that now I cannot get off of.
Damn.
It was just do you want to be on the list for enterprise tech? I'd be like, of course I want to be on the list for enterprise. So I did all of that, and now I get an unnecessary amount of those emails, but also pitches.
What's the volume we're talking about?
Oh, so in an hour, probably 100. If I don't check it in an hour, yeah.
Oh, Okay, now do you read every one?
I do.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is an interesting thing because we have some people that I talk to on this show that do read every single one religiously. And then we have some people that just do the mass delete dump, and they
Oh,
just
no, I can't do that.
Oh, okay. So how do you logistically manage that?
Yeah, I have folders. So
Okay.
yeah, so if it's somebody I need to respond to, I'm like respond to, put them in that folder. If somebody, I have like a newsletters folder for newsletters that I should be reading, and then and then another one for term sheet deals. So when people send me deals, I put them in that folder, and then I go through them to make sure I didn't miss one. Because just you can't do the mass delete. Because like, what if it's something important? I don't.
Yeah, I would have that. That's would be my
like,
anxiety.
yeah.
It's like, what if that's the scoop that you didn't have?
Exactly.
That you didn't know. But then what do you do with just totally off the mark, totally dumb?
Like the mass email.
Yeah. What do you
I
do?
just delete those.
You just delete.
I
Okay.
can't, like if it's something completely unrelated, like here's our retail federation, whatever, it's not applicable to me. I just, no point.
Got it. Do you ever respond to people?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Oh, okay. To bad pitches, you mean?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So everybody, watch out. Polina's going.
No, they're not mean, but
But no, a nice response. Okay, so when you get a bad pitch, and you have, let's say, a bandwidth of 10 seconds to send some reply, maybe 30 seconds. What do you say? Just, hey, not my interest. Hey, thanks, but please take me off.
Just a quick no.
A quick no.
It's the same thing that VCs do, right? Like it's better to give a quick no than a slow no. Is that how it goes?
Well,
I don't know.
answer.
Or no
Or,
answer,
no
whatever.
answer.
Yeah,
And
slow.
so they think maybe you're alive, maybe you're not. I don't
Exactly,
know. I'll
yeah.
just keep pitching.
So if it is genuinely like a personalized like email, like, hey, Polina, like I've been reading this, I think you might be interested in this. I literally just responded to somebody and I said, hey, this is not at all in my wheelhouse, but thank you for thinking of me. Like, let me know if you have funding news. Because it's like you don't want to burn everybody who like accidentally sends you a pitch that maybe doesn't relate to you. So when I was at the startup, the Aussie, I was also doing some PR, like marketing. So I know what it's like to be on the other side. It's not fun, but everybody's just trying to do their job. So
Everyone's just trying to do it. Do you also then get, I would imagine, the pitches from VCs? Mm-hmm. How are their pitches different, if at all?
So you mean coming from a VC directly?
Yes, like a partner. Oh, I'm a partner at so-and-so firm. Do you get that?
I do.
Okay.
The best ones are like, I'm an incoming analyst at this VC firm. Will you put me in the people section? Which absolutely. But like, it's really sweet that like people who, these college kids are reading term sheet and they think that this is a big deal to be, and it is.
mentioned.
Yeah. But I do get pitches in terms of like, they're actually pretty good because as a VC, they know, right? Like they know what
you're
you
the person.
cover. Yeah. They're not going to do something totally off base. So they're usually like, hey, we have a big funding round coming up. Or like if it's somebody I met, that's like the best, like you and I, like
Yes.
if we've met before, it's just so much easier. As like we talked last time, here's what we have coming up, or this is a trend I'm seeing and you should maybe look into that. Yeah.
So trends you're seeing, fill us in a little bit on what you're looking for. Obviously funding news, trends you're seeing.
Right.
Thought you might be interested in this. What do you not want, by the way? So people are very clear on that.
I don't want like if you're a founder, you have a company, you have a new app feature. Like I'm not interested in that. Whenever money is flowing in and out, like I'm interested in that. But like app features and things like that, probably not. And any like scoops or if you see wrongdoing, you should probably like let somebody know, even if it's anonymously. We have a tip box, so that's helpful.
Okay, so if you see dirty work in the VC space, got it. You also have another newsletter.
Oh yeah.
The Profile, which I love, and I read every Sunday because it's juicy. You can get lost in it big time. What spurred you to start that, and what is it so people know as well?
Yeah, the profile is basically every Sunday I compile a bunch of profiles on interesting people and companies that are really deep dives into what makes that person who they are or what makes that company what it is. And I read a lot just in general, but it's really... The profile was basically my prerogative to kind of prove that there's still really, really good journalism out there. Because I feel like now that newspapers are no longer really a thing, like print newspapers, there's nobody telling you like, hey, this is important and this is really, really good. It's just, if you don't have any sort of direction, you can get lost in the sea of Twitter or the internet. And there's just so much crap out there. It's like hard to sort. So basically what I'm doing is like, I'm sorting, hey, this is a really, really good profile that you maybe want to know.
Yeah, and you also give context to it. Mm-hmm. Here's the why. Here's what I liked about it. It's helpful. It's curated.
Thank you.
I like it. And now, Polina, if you were to do this again, go down this rabbit hole into being the student newspaper editor, going to CNN, going to USA Today, now you're here at Fortune, this whole trajectory, I mean, would you do it again?
Yes, I would, because I think at this point I intimately know how the media industry works. There's a lot that's good with it, and there's a lot of problems. And with the amount of noise and with the amount of new players coming in, there's probably even more problems than we realize. And now, as we've seen with Facebook and some of these larger giants, like, are they a platform? Are they a media company? It's just, there's so many things to address. So I would do it again, just because as much as, people love to hate on reporters and the media especially, it's like not a thing. It's not like a one whole thing. Anyway, I would do it because being from Bulgaria, which was in a former communist country where freedom of speech was not a thing, I just feel very strongly about freedom of speech and being able to tell the stories and give people a voice. Give people a voice who don't have one. That's my ultimate idealistic thing, but it's just a lot of people have strayed too far from that, and now I think it's time to bring it back.
Bring it back. Yeah. So then, future journalism, positive?
Yes.
Where do you think it's going?
Oh, journalism in general.
Yeah, just in general.
I think there will be a lot of consolidation. I think players like the New York Times, Fortune magazine, all of this, they'll continue to do well just because they focus on the quality instead of the quantity of things. As long as you produce quality work, people always come back. If, you're just trying to play a numbers game, eventually it'll run out. So I think we're going to see a lot of consolidation, and a lot of, with all these paywalls going up, a lot of people are going to actually realize, hey, maybe I need to pay to get some quality, which you should.
Yeah, I don't know why this is a perplexing thought, frankly, to a lot of things. But that's a whole other longer conversation than we have time for today. So just thank you, Polina.
Thank you.
Thanks for spending time with us today.
Of course.
Where should we follow you, by the way, on Twitter?
Oh, Polina_Marinova.
Got it. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Coffee with the Journalist featuring Polina Marinova from Fortune. If you're a journalist who loves coffee or a publicist who loves this podcast, we'd love to hear from you. Head to onepitch.co to drop us a line. Until then, let's end bad pitches and start great stories.